Hey NEC Hoops fans, hope you enjoyed your holiday break, but it's a new year and that means the first edition of the NEC Men's Basketball Hoops on the Run podcast. I'm your host Kyle Turner alongside Ron Ratner. We're going to jump right into it. Ron, give me your weekend takeaways.
Thanks Kyle. We are back and we are in conference play. I couldn't be more excited. And in a year in which everyone is talking about the parity in the league, we only have 2 teams left after 1 weekend of play that are off to 2-0 starts. And wouldn't you know it, those teams were picked 7th and 10th in the NEC Basketball preseason coaches poll. First we have Robert Morris, picked 7th in the NEC preseason poll, held their first 2 opponents to 54 and 57 points. That suffocating defense led to 2 victories. Andy Toole now 6-2 in NEC openers. His counterpart, Glenn Breka of St. Francis, Brooklyn, he's now 7-1 in NEC openers after the Terriers defeated Sacred Heart on the road to win their opener, then came back home and defeated Wagner, a team picked 2nd in the preseason poll, on Sunday. Side note about NEC openers, FDU's Greg Herenda now 5-0 in league lid lifters after the Knights went into Brooklyn and took down LIU last Friday.
All right, Ron, let's take a break from all this. Let's go to the Twitter timeout.
Kyle, our Twitter timeout comes from NEC blogger Nelson Castillo. He is all over the NEC scene. After the first 2 games of the season, he tweeted, "This weekend is the latest indication that this NECMBB season is going to be bonkers, and it's only week 1. I couldn't agree more. Can't wait to see how things unfold this coming week."
All right, Ron, we're going to keep it moving. Of all the games you watched last week, what was your pick for the game of the week?
That's a tough one, Kyle. There were some good ones, but I'm going to go with preseason favorite St. Francis U going up against Bryant in Smithfield on Sunday. Bryant seemed in control heading into the home stretch, but an 8-0 St. Francis run gave the Red Flash the lead heading into the final moments. From there, it was Mr. Big Shot himself, Adam Grant, who's made a career in his first year plus at Bryant in making big shots. Well, he had another one this past Sunday, hitting a NBA range 3 to send the game to overtime. But in the overtime, it was St. Francis stars Keith Braxton and Jamal King. They combined for the first 7 points in the extra session. Each wound up with 29, both career highs, in the win. And the Red Flash walked away with a road split on NEC tip-off weekend.
Ron, you're absolutely right. That was a great game. But now give us your game to watch for this week.
That's easy, Kyle. Like we mentioned earlier, there are just 2 unbeaten teams left, and they will go head-to-head this Thursday night at the Palumbo Center out in Pittsburgh. Robert Morris against St. Francis, Brooklyn. I think what we'll see here is a contrast in styles once again. Robert Morris, as we also mentioned earlier, allowed a league-low 55.5 points a game in their 2 14-point wins last weekend. Meanwhile, St. Francis Brooklyn averaged nearly 78 points a game, also an NEC high, in their 2 opening NEC games. Something's got to give, and it should be a good one out in Pittsburgh.
All right, Ron, that game should be exciting. It's a rematch of the 2015 Men's Championship. And speaking of Robert Morris, rumor has it that there's a Colonial flying under the radar.
You are correct, Kyle, and that under-the-radar player is Robert Morris's Charles Bain, a 6'8 freshman out of the Bahamas. He scored a career-high 18 points in just 20 minutes in Sunday's win over Central Connecticut. His previous high, 10 points coming into the game. He also hit 3 or 4 from long range, a place where he had struggled shooting earlier in the season. If Bain can give Robert Morris quality minutes off the bench, they have a pretty formidable front line now with Kobe Thomas, Malik Petway, and Ronnie Gombe. So hats off to Charles Bain. I'm sure we'll be hearing more from him as the season progresses.
All right, Ron, who's on your star watch this week?
Ooh, that's a tough one, Kyle, but I think I'm going to have to go with 2 players on this. Let's start with the Mounts' Junior Robinson. A preseason All-NEC pick. He does everything for the Mount. He leads the conference and ranks nationally in scoring with over 21 points a game. He leads the league in free throw percentage, also ranked nationally. He's 3rd in assists. I think he's probably the most indispensable player in the conference in that everything flows through him in the Mount's attack. He's 5th in the nation in usage rate. He's got unlimited range. He breaks defenders down off the dribble, or he kicks it out, and he's got great shooters in Greg Alexander and Jonah Antonio. If the Mount are going to go far this year, it's going to be on the back of Junior Robinson, who may be small, but he plays as big as anyone in the conference. Also on my Star Watch, Kyle, Keith Braxton, the St. Francis University sophomore forward. He's the reigning NEC Rookie of the Year, and he does everything on the court. He's truly a complete player. You look at some of his recent performances, 20 points, 16 rebounds, 8 assists in St. Francis's win over Lehigh to close out non-conference play. He also had 29 points, 12 rebounds, and 8 assists in Sunday's overtime win at Bryant. In both cases, he's one of only a handful of players nationally since 2010 to achieve those numbers in a single game. I love watching Keith Braxton play, and he's one of the straws that stirs the drink for St. Francis University.
All right, next up, Ron, give me your dunk of the week.
With all respect to Central's Mustafa Jones, LIU's Raekwon Clark, and Robert Morris's Deshaun Burke, my pick for dunk of the week goes to St. Francis University junior guard Andre Wolford. He's just 6'2", and in his previous game, he dropped 9 threes against Lehigh, not known for his high-flying acrobatics, but against Central Connecticut, in the Red Flashes opener, he drove to his left and threw it down viciously with his right hand. One of the best dunks I've seen this year in the NEC. Definitely an NEC 9, upper NEC 9 candidate. We'll see if we see any more out of Andre as the season moves on.
All right, Ron, were there any NEC milestones out there last week?
There sure was, Kyle. We had LIU Brooklyn senior Joel Hernandez. He became the 214th player in league history to score 1,000 career points. He did that on Sunday in a win over the Mount. Hernandez has been on fire lately. He scored 20 or more points in 7 straight games, and he leads one of the most prolific offenses in the NEC. Blackbirds get up and down the court, and he's one of the reasons they are so exciting to watch. Congratulations to Joel Hernandez.
All right, fans, that'll do it for this week's show. Be sure to check out necfrontrow.com for all the NEC hoops action. All games are streamed live and in HD. For NEC Front Row, I'm Kyle Turner alongside Ron Ratner. We'll see you next week.